Yeah, I'm so glad you are touching on these matters and you are really following the whole narrative quite perfectly. And that is what I like about what you are saying, and your argument does make sense to me in that sense. However, I have just sent you this message where I've written Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. I know that you are relying solely on the Bible to find out whether we Africans are also descendants of Shem. That is impossible. It is impossible to rely on the Bible itself because you cannot critique biblical text with another biblical text. That has been, I mean, that has proven to be impossible. And that is why you look at the Zondervan Bible Dictionary and you see what it is said there. It says Ham is the progenitor of black races except the Negroes. And these races, this so-called black race includes Mizraim, who was his son, includes Put, who was his son, Canaan, his son, and Cush. But the dictionary says except the Negroes. Now, who are the Negroes? And are the Negroes white? No, they are not white. They are black. A white person cannot be referred to as a Negro. Now, as I've said, you cannot find any evidence in the Bible itself because we should check the purpose for which the Bible was written. It was written with a particular purpose in mind, but not to deal or to engage such questions as we are asking them today. We don't know if they were relevant then when the Bible was being written. We don't know because we were not there. But as I'm saying, you cannot critique the Bible, the biblical text, using another biblical text. You cannot go to Matthew in order to prove whether what we believe should have happened in Genesis did really happen. It is just almost impossible. Because in the Bible, it doesn't tell us, for example, that Ham was black. Genesis doesn't tell us that Ham was black. But when we read other books outside the Bible, it tells us that Ham was black. It doesn't tell us that Cush was black. It doesn't tell us that Mizraim was black. As a matter of fact, it doesn't tell us that Egyptians were black. It doesn't therefore tell us that Israelites are black. It doesn't even tell us that Ashkenaz was white. Ashkenaz is the forebear of the people that claim to be Jews today. Those are Ashkenazi Jews. But the fact that we call them Ashkenazi Jews proves that they are descendants of Ashkenaz. But the Bible doesn't tell us that Ashkenaz was the progenitor of white races. It doesn't. So it takes further research for us to understand some of these facts. It takes further research. Okay. Now, let's look at this. The Bible doesn't tell us that once upon a time some Israelites were spread in Africa. It doesn't tell us that. The Bible doesn't talk about Africa. It talks about the land of Cush or the land of Ethiopia, etc. It uses other words. So, because we are reading all these things now, we live now. We don't live then. That is why it becomes very difficult. But the fact of the matter is that if you look at old maps of West Africa, written, drawn by different Europeans, early around the 17th or 18th century, there's a map that shows a huge region of Negroland. It is written Negro land in block letters. It is written Negro land. When you look at this Negro land in details, you find that there are territories of the kingdom of Judah, there are territories of Zebulun, Issachar, etc., etc., sons of Jacob. How come? Were they in Africa? Were they white? Okay, does history tell us that there was ever a white race in Africa except in Europe? That's what we need to know. So we cannot rely on the Bible itself. We can't. The Bible doesn't give us all these answers. And the Bible is not lying. It simply doesn't give us the information, but it is not lying in any way. Because it doesn't tell us who was white and who was black. But when we read, and I did mention the book of Lamentations one day, I can't remember what chapter it was, but that particular verse clearly told everyone that we are black, we are the descendants of black Israel, because those people were black. It talks about how they become darker and darker when they suffer. But white people don't become dark when they suffer, because they are just white. But also, tell me if it is possible to give someone such a nickname, Simeon or Shimeon the nigger. Simeon or Shimeon the nigger. As I actually quoted that verse in the book of Acts. How could he be referred to as nigger? Because nigger is an Italian word which means black. It refers to a black object. So how can a white man ever be black? That is another question. Another question. I believe that since we say Ham is the progenitor of the black people in Africa, for example, Mizraim was black. It is clear that Mizraim was black. And Mizraim is the progenitor of Egyptians, indigenous Egyptians. I'm not referring to invaders and conquerors of Egypt. I'm not referring to those people. Those are foreigners, those are outsiders who just came and conquered Egypt. That is a matter of history. It is historical. We know that Alexander the Great did conquer Egypt at some point and claimed that no black people could have created such great artifacts of civilization like pyramids and sphinxes and stuff like that. We know that when the French came under Bonaparte, we know what they did. They cut the noses of those huge structures. That Sphinx of Egypt, that nose was removed because it was a flat nose of an African person. But this is my point now. Moses was a Hebrew man. He was from the house of Levi. And when he ran away, when he fled from Egypt, when he went as far as Midian, the daughters of Jethro thought that he was an Egyptian. Why did they think he was an Egyptian? We know that he was not an Egyptian, he was a Hebrew. But Egyptians are descendants of Mizraim, and Mizraim is a descendant, is from Ham, who is black, who is the father of black people. So it means ancient Egyptians are black or were black. So how could they mistake Moses, a white man, supposedly, a white man, and say, we saw an Egyptian who came to rescue us from the shepherds? How could they do that? No, now I want to draw your attention to the fact that the Bible is not interested in discussing issues that we are discussing today, because today we have a serious problem of race. But the Bible was not written with that matter, with that issue in mind. And it was not written by white people, by the way. Most of the books that you read from in the Bible were written by black people. They were separate books. They were not a Bible. They were scrolls. These were scrolls. Some of them were written on skins because people didn't always have paper. paper was very scarce. So these were written by people who were not so conscious of their skin color, because maybe they had not come into contact with white people. We don't know how long it took for Greeks to interact with Egypt. And we don't know how long it took for Greeks to see themselves as superior as opposed to Egyptians or the rest of black people. So when these people wrote these books, they didn't perhaps have all these questions in mind, the questions of race as we are dealing with them now. Now, I know that you have seen that movie called The Ten Commandments. It shows a white Pharaoh, white Moses, white Egyptians, white Israelites. It shows that. But that is fiction. It is fiction because how could all Egyptians be white when Ham is said to be the progenitor of black races in Africa? How could that be? And go back to that map where you see Negro land. Were those white people? Go back and check. But my point is, we should stop believing in everything that white people tell us. We are black and we are custodians of our knowledge. We know our history. We know. We have knowledge. We are black and we have knowledge. Yes. I want you to have that in mind. We are black and we have knowledge. Thank you so much.